go ahead and get started. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining us for this virtual town hall. The agenda tonight is to simply come together and to answer your questions. While you submit your questions through the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen, I wanted to give you some exciting updates on how we're pivoting Influence. So Influence 2020 will happen, and we want you to be a part of the experience. We're planning to deliver an experience that will help you navigate this unprecedented uncertainty. And we also know and realize that you need information now. So working with the incredible co-chairs, Sylvie DeGiusto and Bill Staten, and with President Ana Layata, we are pulling content forward and created a hybrid Influence experience that starts May 4th with virtual discussions, interactive panels, presentations, and other interactions. And it will culminate in a 3-day event, August 1st through 3rd. As of this moment, our plans are to hold that 3-day event in person. If we cannot safely come together in person, we will come together virtually. We've heard from both sides of our membership, those that are adamantly encouraging us to hold the in-person event, and those who fear the health risks. The truth of the matter is that nobody truly knows what this is going to look like in 3 months. What we can do is continue to monitor sources like the CDC and the WHO and make an informed decision by June 1st. We do know and understand that whatever we decide, we will not make everybody happy. In the meantime, we're rolling out a virtual only option, which I'll talk a little bit about, and a new cancellation policy in recognition of these times. For those of you who have already registered for Influence, first of all, thank you. Second, we have a ton of exciting and exclusive bonuses just for you. The staff has told me that they will kill me if I ruin the surprise, so I won't go into detail on the bonuses, but let me just tell you the value of these bonuses is absolutely incredible. As we wrap up the final details on those, you'll receive an email, a dedicated email will go to everybody who's registered with all of the information within the next few weeks. Additionally, we recognize that you are navigating this uncertainty right along with us. So you do not have to make a decision right now. For those of you who are registered for the full Influence, you have until July 22nd to switch to a virtual only ticket. If for some reason you need to cancel completely, you have until May 31st, and then we're happy to do a full refund or other options. But I must tell you, you will be missing out on an incredible experience. We also recognize that right now attending Influence may not be feasible for some. So we've created a virtual only ticket that's much more affordable at $497 so that you can still consume most of the content and engage in the community. Watch your email because we'll be sending an announcement with both of the options so that you can choose which option is right for you. Either way, this is going to be a very strong event for those that are able to invest in their business and invest in their personal growth. We also wanted to say that you all are the ones that stand in front of audiences and deliver tremendous value, deliver strength and optimism. It's with that same heart that we are trying to exhibit those qualities by demonstrating our commitment to events and to each other. And we look forward to walking arm in arm with you as we lead the meetings and events industry back online. Now, there's a ton of other stuff that I could talk about with Influence, but I do not want to take up all of the time. So let's get to some questions. First question is from Brian Walter. Anna, I'm going to ask you, given that there will likely be less people attending, will there be changes to the on-site portion of Influence?
Great question, Brian. Yes, there will be some changes. We recognize that the on-site experience is probably going to be a few less people than originally intended. And we want to make sure we take great care of everyone. And we've also been looking at how do we make sure that that 3-day program creates the space for everyone to connect with each other as well. So we've moved the breakouts to the experience portion, the influence experience portion. So the breakouts will be happening in that virtual live programming beforehand. That means that we will expand the general sessions, and the time that we have main stage will become supersized. We also will be having more time to connect and network and have hallway conversations. So the event itself will still have lots of room for you to connect with each other, but we will be having the main stage general sessions be a little bit more expanded. There's a couple of other events that we won't be holding on site. One will be the Cavett Institute. As we worked with the hotel, and they have been gracious with us on looking at how we can create the event, we also needed to look at what can we really make sure that we take great use of the space of. And the Cavett Institute, the day before, this year, the day before, and using that space. We didn't have folks registered for it, so that's one that we won't be doing. We also won't be doing the youth program. We love our NSA youth program. As we looked at how do we make sure we take care of folks, make them safe, we only had a couple of folks that were registered for the youth program, and really in putting our attention towards making sure our families were safe and our program was at premium, we looked at this year and said the youth program is not one that we will deliver this year. We also will be looking at the 3 days, and we will be having the CPAE banquet, but that will just be on Monday night instead of on Tuesday night. So those are kind of the core pieces. There's some other ancillary events around influence that we'll have to look at on a case-by-case basis, but those are the core meat programs that won't be happening in our 3 days.
Okay, so Lawrence Pond asked, when is Influence? Influence begins May 4th with virtual experience, and then we culminate in a 3-day event, August 1st through 3rd. As of now, the plans are to hold it in person. If not, we'll come together virtually. Jeffrey Hazlett asked, will the breakouts be virtual or pre-recorded? Anna?
So the breakout portions are actually going to be in that hybrid delivery. So some folks will actually deliver a portion of that influence experience live programming where they will pre-record it, but they will be there live answering questions, and then we'll go into Q&A and we'll go into breakout rooms, and that will be happening live too. So some segments, just like we're doing with our clients, will have a pre-recorded aspect to it to minimize the possibility that technical glitches happen. And then some will be completely live. They will be the person delivering live, and they'll be answering live, and they'll be engaging live. So we're going to be demonstrating best practices as they evolve in our influence experience portion that happens before August 1st. So it will be a hybrid of that too.
So a couple of other influence questions that I'll take because your connection's freezing just a little bit would be, when will we have a schedule for the virtual portion of influence, and will the topic and agendas be adapted to the new world we are working in? We will have a schedule within the next couple of weeks. We are working with all of the speakers to get updated session descriptions, because yes, the content will be adapted to this new reality. The influence is going to be all about how do you not just survive, but how do you thrive during COVID-19. How are we encouraging the community aspect of being at the event? Anna, do you want to take that one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons that we created the afternoons being about community, and the afternoons being that chance to actually come together. So on the first night, we are going to have a party together. We're actually going to supersize the party. So it won't just be a reception. We're really going to celebrate that first night and create community time. Sunday afternoon, this is when it will be open for, if community groups want to gather, people will kind of be able to self-organize for that time and space to connect. And then Monday night is the CPAE banquet. So it goes quite quickly, but we've left a lot of space in between for community. That's why we didn't program the breakouts during the time that we're on site together, so that people can connect and can do that however they want to get together.
Mary Lou, may I add one comment?
Yes.
And I know that you and Anna will not necessarily say this, but I want to commend the two of you for the way you're working with the state of Maryland, with the Gaylord, with the CDC, with the WHO, the World Health Organization. And I just want to assure all of our members, they're taking into consideration our safety first. And as we get closer, and if we're indeed able to hold the event, I know you're going to be practicing the exact recommendations that the CDC gives us. So I want to commend you for that. And just as we're in this limbo time now, beginning with virtual in just a little over a week, but the actual decision on the event about a month away. But I have great confidence in the way I've watched y'all work in making sure that this is going to be a safe event, and hoping we'll be able to do that.
And I just really want to give a huge shout out to the Gaylord National Harbor. We are truly partnering together. We, even though they're furloughed right now, and the Gaylord itself is shut down for the month of April, we have regular conversations, even on their personal, like our representatives' personal time. And we have talked a lot about safety and what are some of the things that we can do. You know, the bright side of a reduced attendance allows us to do things like maybe there's 4 to a banquet table instead of 8, space out seating, and maybe do it curved or do some things that are just a little bit different. So we get to experiment. Gary Rifkin asked if we see these virtual sessions being quote unquote webinar when the participants can't see each other, or Zoom meeting when the participants can see each other. Gary, we're looking at doing a lot of different formats. So part of the influence experience, part of the benefit is so that you can look at the different formats and learn what works, what doesn't work, what would be good for your style, and adapt it to your style. So we're going to do interviews, we're going to do short segments, we're going to do live Q&A, we're going to do breakout rooms. The whole point is to give this wide array of how an event could be done virtually.
And we're also going to be making sure that when we do it, we're going to deliver it, but we're going to ask the presenters to then share with you what they did, what were the pitfalls, what were the benefits, and really pull back the curtain so that we're all learning very rapidly the real-time best practice.
And Tom Singer and Eliz Green are going to be moderating this entire 3-month event and just pulling it all together. So another question was, what happens if we can't make it to one of the virtual breakout sessions? We are creating a space in our digital vault that is just for influence. So when you register either for the full influence or for the virtual only, you'll go to the digital vault, and anything that is recorded, we're going to upload there. Attendees will have access to the digital vault from the time that they register until August 31st. As of September 1st, any of the influence recordings would go into the digital vault.
The other thing that's exciting about this too is because we're delivering so much of this content virtually, you probably have friends that have always wanted to attend Influence. They are maybe in another industry, maybe they're even in another association, whether it's MPI, whether it's ASAE, whether it's Coaching International. And this makes the content of Influence incredibly accessible, particularly the virtual only ticket. So this is something that, you can really share with folks because they can participate in it.
Yeah, to Anna's point, this really expands the number of people who can attend, right? Especially globally, and especially with some of the travel restrictions in place. Elaine Pasqua asked, since there are only 3 days, will we be starting earlier on Saturday? We will start with a general session in the afternoon, and we will end with the CPAE banquet on Monday evening. That was another question. A question for you, Mike. what are we doing to bring more value to membership right now?
Well, first, let me just say how thankful we all are in leadership for the trust, patience, and cooperation that you as our community have given us and encouraged us with. It is unprecedented times, and we are blessed and thankful for every bit of trust and patience and cooperation. Our staff's doing amazing things. 47 years ago, we came together, and by we, I mean they came together and created a community and built that community and did a sense of community that is still present today. And I think one of the things that we are thrilled about is that as we look across the landscape of you folks, communities are popping up everywhere: cocktail parties, teas, masterminds, connection. So the weekly webinars, the weekly chats that we're having, all of these things are built so that we further support and drive this sense of community. So whether it is giving you opportunities to enhance the value of your offer through Zoom, whether it is through being able to double down on expense control relative to health, all those things are still present. But what we're really excited about is this notion of creating opportunities for our community to bond, for our community to connect in more profound ways. Rhett has done a great job and his team of building opportunities for us to come together and be educated. Another thing that we're doing, I think that is, and by we, I mean the total community, is we're creating innovative ways to think and spaces to create new ways to bring content through the digital vault or through this virtual experience that Anna and Mary Lou and her team have done that have really started to bubble to the surface. I think 6 weeks ago, many of us would have been thinking, if we would have told you then we'd be here now, we'd be like, I can't even imagine. But your resilience and your creativity has inspired us to create more of those kinds of opportunities. So thank you. And the value of NSA has always been there, but it's been built even stronger through our communities today.
Another question that came in from Holly Steele: will the virtual only tickets show all the general session keynotes? Yes, those that were able to record. So as you know, some speakers won't allow recordings, and it will not be streamed live. The plan is that virtual only pass holders will have access to the full recordings of the general sessions within a week of the general session. Another question is what's going on with the NSA digital vault? Anna, do you want to take that one? Do you want me to take that one?
I'll let you go ahead and take that one.
Sure. So Bill Backrack has been incredibly instrumental in helping us get the digital vault ready and full of lots of very valuable content. We launched it, we did a soft launch at the winter conference where we had a handful of people sign up for it to get early access to it. Those people now have access, and we will be launching it to the full membership within the next few weeks. That's the update on Digital Vault.
Mary Lou, there's a question about live streaming the main session. Would you like for me to? I'm sorry.
Yes, Barry, if you want to address that one.
So let me address that in the larger scope of our financial situation. Your NSA is strong. 5 years ago, we began serious, significant financial controls. We have outsourced our financial management to one of the highest, most reputable firms who every month gives us, the board, our leadership, a complete dashboard of where we are. We were sitting in Houston and Winter Conference, and I remember being very excited. We had slowed the loss of membership. We'd turned that up. We had a sold out CSP CPA event. Winter Conference was sold out. We actually were going to have a small gross profit on Winter Conference. And I was feeling pretty good. 2 weeks later, my grandmother's words slipped into my head: pride comes before a fall, because suddenly that all changed. We're dependent upon dues from our members and events. That's our primary sources of revenue. But I want to ensure you, and our board discusses this in each of our meetings, we have the reserves to get through this crisis. It would cause us to have to spend more of those reserves than we ever intended to. But let me may I share just something personal for a moment. A few months ago, in my 22-year experience in NSA, we were all probably in pretty much the same place. Here's our cognitive competencies: sales, leadership, management, humor, inspiration, motivation. And here was our income stream, and they were kind of together. And then suddenly, almost overnight, they were radically separated. Now we have to do something about this income stream. We do as an association, we have to as individuals. We've got mortgages and bills to pay. Some have tuition to pay. And we had a Zoom that we talked about, looking at your cash and your life insurance, looking at the opportunity in your community for grants and loans. I don't for a moment want to diminish the crisis that many of us are in just meeting our daily expenses. But we must be very careful that we don't let that crisis that we will work through keep us from taking advantage of this opportunity. The world we live in needs our words to lift them more than they ever have in any of our lifetimes. It doesn't matter what your topic is. If you're an NSA professional member, you've got a cognitive competency that your customers and your prospects need. Now, over the next year, perhaps, while we're working on a vaccine or a therapy, or while the economy is fully recovering, it may not be on a stage as we traditionally know, but that doesn't diminish our expertise, whether we're coaching, training, consulting, trusted advisor. So I think one of the values we have with NSA is that we'll keep trying to find ways for you to meet those monthly expenses you've got to meet, while at the same time, not stepping away from, not giving up on that competency that brought us to where we are. And I can tell you that our CEO, Mary Lou Peck, and her staff, and our president, they are committed to making sure that as an association, we have one goal. And that one simple goal is to do everything we can to help every member be able to survive financially, thrive with their competency, so that when we get 18, 24 months out, we'll all be in a place that we really couldn't have imagined. This is our moment. This is our moment. History finds its person. We're the people that can deliver those messages, and I hope you won't give up on that. So there was a question about live streaming the general session. The cost of that is extremely prohibitive. It's to be able to have the kind of live stream that would be able to cross all the platforms and be very good audio and video. It's just prohibitively expensive. That's why we can't do a live stream in the main ballroom of the general session, but it'll be recorded. And as Mary Lou has said, they're working on a plan of how quickly that will be available to all of our virtual presenters. Now, everything coming up until Influence, that of course is going to be available. Some of that might be recorded. Most of it will be live, as Mary Lou said, but it won't be financially possible for us to do it at Influence. So we hope you can be there in person, but if not, you're going to get the full benefit from it. So I encourage you to take heart about our financial situation. Stay with us. Your membership is valuable. I know it's tough, and we want to do everything we can to help you through it. But I know beyond any doubt that what we do is needed more now by our communities than it ever has been before. This is our moment to leverage that and to really build stronger personal businesses and a stronger NSA brand when we come through. But we've got about 24 months that we've got to just get up every morning and work it day by day. And all of us on this call, we're committed to serving you and trying to do that. And please communicate with us. Share with us ways that we can help you that we may not be seeing, because that's our purpose.
So Barry, first a comment and then a question for you. The comment is, after the financial responses advice that Barry shared in the first NSA COVID-19 Zoom, we implemented 3 of the ideas and we are financially more secure, not totally, but decent because of it. I value the advice and community of NSA during this crisis. So shout out for you. And then from somebody else, a question that Microsoft is not planning any person-to-person meetings until summer 2021. What is your hunch about a more normalizing, not just for NSA, but for the industry? And then I'd like Mike, you to weigh in on that as well too.
Well, I am not qualified to give you an expert answer on that. In my work, I get a McKinsey report every morning, and I'm on a lot of calls with clients where we're talking about large gatherings. The really big gatherings of thousands of people, that's probably going to be slower coming out, because just arithmetically, that's exponentially rather, that's a bigger risk. So that may have some impact on college football or professional sports, I'm not sure. But everything that I'm hearing suggests that it'll be state by state. Some states not as much, other states more so, that the governors in those states may permit gatherings of several hundred, or maybe even beyond 300 or 400, and maybe 600 or 700, provided the hotel is working on proper distancing. Here's the one thing we should try to remember, and I believe this, and I'm certainly hoping this. The hotels have every financial interest to have a successful meeting. It would be disastrous for them financially to throw caution to the wind and just try to hold a big meeting where people weren't safe. So they're really going to work with us to make sure that we're safe, that they're taking extraordinary cleanliness measures. And likewise, it would be foolish on our part if we're holding a meeting, or if anyone's holding a meeting in a location that it does not have the clearance from the CDC to do that, they shouldn't do it. So my hunch is we've just got to take it meeting by meeting. In the meantime, what I'm trying to do with my clients is find a way, not just through Zoom or virtual, but through other ways to take the expertise I have and share that with them at a time they need it. I look forward to being back on more stages, but for now, I know the client needs what I would deliver on that stage. I just have to find a different modality to deliver it. So my hunch is the large meetings will be a while. We may see some opening on some smaller meetings.
I think oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that just reinforces like what we've been talking about is viewing our members as not just speakers, but like experts who communicate expertise, right? So if you're an expert and you just communicate it, speaking on a stage is just one modality. What are some other modalities that you deliver your expertise?
Yeah, no one woke up this morning looking for a speaker. They woke up this morning looking for a problem to solve, and we're the people that have those solutions. We just have to communicate it to them in a way that they're able to receive it.
Mm-hmm. And so, Mike, I apologize. What do you see?
I think to your point, Barry, I don't know Microsoft's motivation. Don't pretend to speak to it. But I do think there's some differences. The head of Win Enterprises this morning said something I thought was really brilliant. He said, the only way for us to get back to doing what we need to do is to be safe and to put our foot in the water and begin the journey across the river. I love that. And who better to lead us during this time than folks with a message and a solution to problems that our clients face every day. I have a client, a publicly traded client, and they shared with me in confidence this week that a lot of their decisions are driven by some of the fact that they're publicly traded, that they have exposure in places that privately held companies don't. I don't know if that's Microsoft's, but I can tell you in our case, having been behind the curtain and worked with Anna and worked with Mary Lou, the focus on safety while still providing a way to bring our message to the masses so that we can take people by the hand and say, we can help you get through this, we can help you move through this, I think is going to serve as a model. We're already hearing from people who are like, wow, NSA is stepping out. You guys have got the trifecta managed. You're handling safety, you're being inspirational, you're moving forward boldly with courage. I think we're going to have people following through that. And so I think some of the bigger companies are probably going to hold because, to Barry's point, of the bigness of their meetings. But I also think they have some political pressures that organizations like ours don't have as much of, that give us a little bit more latitude. But everybody at the end of the day is going to be focused on safety first, leading second, and then taking that first step into the water as it's appropriate.
Yeah, a couple of questions are coming in and comments about like the virtual option. It really makes it more accessible for international audiences. So a couple things there. And somebody made a comment about this could be the future model. And yes, this is what we're looking at as the future model. Maybe not 3 months of virtual delivery, but 30 days prior to event, delivering things virtually, and then rethinking the on-site portion to focus on what can you really only do well in person. I can listen to somebody present via video. I don't need to be in person for that. But we're looking at, like, especially with Influence 2021, what are some social learning things that we can put in place? How can we create more of that community while still learning best practices? And Barry, do you want to speak a little bit about our intent with, as regards to like international?
So 2021, Lord willing, as we say in North Carolina, is set for Las Vegas, Nevada in the summer of 2021. And we certainly are anticipating that. Dr. John Molitor, who is a past president of NSA and will be next year the president of the GSF, he and I have been working collaborative along with Mary Lou. We would like for that gathering in Las Vegas to be the largest gathering of speakers from around the world ever. You know, our international speaking brothers and sisters had one of their most recent meetings canceled. They're facing a lot of travel restrictions. We're hoping that by the time we get to July of 2021, we can have a gathering. So it's not just a conference at the beginning of Influence for the international presenters, but it's a conference of presenters that represent the world and that we'll have on the main stage. I think Mary Lou and her volunteer team are working on this. We'll have great representation on the main stage of our international brothers and sisters. And it'll be an opportunity, not just for constant presentations, but as she said, for more social gathering and social learning. We've been talking for some time about sort of helping to reinvent the NSA experience, we've got that opportunity now. We have to do that now. And so I would encourage every member, if you've got an idea about a learning experience that could make Influence or even Winter Conference better, please send that to our CEO and let her know that. We have more volunteer spots today than we've ever had in the history of our association. So step up and say that you want to be part of that, whether you're volunteering for something virtual or in person or a hybrid of both of those. So 2021 will be our chance to have perhaps the most significant opportunity for new learning experiences, coupled with a sense that we're bringing together all of our brothers and sisters in our profession from around the world. That's our goal, and Dr. Molitor and I are working toward that. We hope we'll be able to do it.
Okay, a couple of other questions related to Influence 2020. What will the video or breakout schedule be like from May to August? So again, we're going to publish the full schedule within the next few weeks, but it will be every Monday and every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, so 5 p.m. Eastern. And again, our goal will be to have different formats so that we don't have the same formats back to back. Again, just trying some different things so we can learn from that and see what works well. What events or decisions would cause you to cancel Influence, and by when? From Mary Kelly. Mary Kelly, we will make an informed decision by June 1st. We're going to continue to follow the CDC, the WHO, and obviously the state of Maryland, and we're anxiously awaiting any sort of feedback or announcements from the governor there. So those would be the main decisions. Barry, Rick Jekyll asks, and you kind of answered this, but maybe go a little more in depth. How do you believe the situation will affect NSA?
I think there are a couple of ways it will affect us. First of all, we have members, and I can remember a time in my speaking career, this would have been me. It's not me today because of my age and time, but I can remember a time when something like this could have been devastating financially. So we have members for whom this is a quick and tough and difficult blow. And we want to try and do everything we possibly can to keep those members connected to us, part of us. We're talking about creative ways to do that. So if you're on the call tonight, or you know someone, and maybe they say, you know, I just can't afford to stay with my membership. If they're serious about this profession, encourage them to find a way and to work with us, help us find a way. So one impact is going to be the pressure on so many of our members that it'll be tough to afford this. Obviously, another pressure will be the expense of coming to a meeting. And that's why, as you heard Mary Lou say, we're working on the pricing for Influence and for the virtual to try to provide many different ways that you can access the NSA experience. Now, here's what I think the upside is. And those of you, some of you that I see on the chat, you could speak to this. Right after 9/11, right after 2008, 2009, we had an uptick in interest in the profession because there were people who had perhaps lost their professional position or decided that they wanted to have a second half in their life and really make it count. So I think we have an opportunity to step out in front and provide a way for those experts who are out there who want to communicate, not just from the platform and speaking, but from my perspective, and I'm just speaking for me now, help them become, first of all, very, very equipped speakers, but also consultants and trainers and coaches. So I think we have an opportunity to grow our membership. I think we have a third opportunity that I know our CEO is working on. What if we were able to say to all the other professional associations, you know, NSA has developed a process to really hold a hybrid or a virtual meeting. And we know that as an association, you can hire a production company. But what if these are people who also understand the platform? They understand the rhythm and the cadence of the program. They're not just technically oriented. So I think we have a chance to be a leader in the associations, in the ASAE and association movement by setting an example. And I know, Mary Lou, that's what you're trying to do. I think we have the opportunity to attract those experts who want to make a pivot into this profession. But maybe our biggest opportunity is to demonstrate to everyone who's a member of NSA now, when we've talked all these years about being a community and a fellowship, this is our time to prove it. And the more we reach out, the more we communicate, check in with each other, try to find a way, we can get through this, but it's not going to be quick. It will be probably a year before the virus part of this is in a place that's more controllable, and maybe another year and a half, maybe even two, before we see a complete economic recovery. But I think the impact is going to be our choice, and that's the great news. We can choose how we respond to this, and that's what we're trying to do tonight.
Well, and some of the other things that we will be doing is, I think this pandemic has highlighted maybe some deficiencies in some speaker business models. So we're looking like, how can we educate our members better? How can we talk about, for example, how to diversify your income streams? Like that's what Winter 2021 is going to be about. How do you use your keynote speech to then build consulting, coaching, or training? Ensuring like there's some financial planning courses and stuff in our digital vault. So we're taking a look at our content and making sure that it really addresses the needs that are critical to our members and to professional speakers worldwide. So Mike, this one's for you from Deborah Gardner. Due to this new normal, how may we continue to encourage the quote unquote new speaker to not shy away from our profession?
Yeah, that's a great question, Deborah. Thank you for that. I think a couple of things. I think we need to keep carrying the water. We need to keep preaching the message, and that, there was a time when you could just be one way and be successful. But if people have a message, if they have a message that needs to get to the world, there's still going to be a place for that. There's always going to be a place for that. And I think one of the ways we do it is to help people explore, to Mary Lou's point, what are the different options and models and how do we move into that space? But I think the best way we do it, Deborah, is to share with them and help them see how they've moved through difficult times in their own life, how every business is fraught with difficulty. And what would it be like if you were in a profession where you could actually put a meaningful impact in the lives of others and escort them through these times by helping them solve meaningful problems in their life? I think there's always going to be a space where we can encourage the courageous or the bold to move into a space to fill a gap. And there's always a gap to be filled by providing really great opportunities educationally with their competency, but also helping them get in touch with their purpose and the message they want to share with the world. It's what Gates said, right? How do they put a meaningful dent in the universe? And I think if we speak to that, and most importantly, speak from our own experience, I think people will continue to be inspired to do that. Not to mention the fact that being a part of this family and community, I think has bolstered most of us, certainly me. I would not be where I am today were it not for this community and the education I got here. So I think inspiration, helping them identify the problem they have to solve so that they get their story there, so we help them lead out into making the impact they really need and want to make, and keep telling our story.
Nice. There's a few questions in the chat about website. So what we're doing with the Wednesday virtual live panels and the Fresh Talk Fridays and like these town halls, that's for members only, and our website is public. So that's why we generally are posting these in our members only Facebook. We're including them in the buzz, and we're sending out emails. Another question was, what will be the primary means to notify us about upcoming NSA sessions or decisions? We would definitely do emails as well as posting in the members only Facebook. And if there's decisions around influence about whether we're going to hold it live or cancel it, like, we will make sure that we communicate that through a couple of different mediums for people. Carolyn asked again about Cavett Institute, because that's when your video or sound was breaking up. So could you talk a little bit about that again?
Absolutely, Carolyn. So the Cavett Institute will not be held this year. And I see have I broken up there again?
No, you're good.
Okay. So it won't be held this year. We will definitely come back and hold it again next year. And the Cavett Institute will be focused on the emerging speaker. One of the things that we focused on all this year is making sure that our on-site programming was focused on the established speaker and the leading speaker. We will definitely come back to the Cavett Institute next year, focusing on the emerging speaker and having it be a robust program that we'll be delivering then, but not this year.
Excellent. And to the emerging speaker as well too, or the aspiring speakers, as we build out Digital Vault and we put together like full courseworks, we'll put together a candidate program. Over time, we'll be putting together a candidate program for people who are aspiring to become professional speakers, who our core audiences are those working professional speakers. So our first priority is to ensure that we have relevant, robust content in multiple formats and mediums for working professional speakers to help them build a better business and be better on platform. we very much value the aspiring speakers. They are our future. But again, we've got to have that solid core for our main customers.
So Mary Lou, a question for you and Anna. What would you say to the aspiring speaker who's considering signing up for the virtual presentation or even thinking about coming to Influence if we're able to hold it? What would your recommendation be to them?
My recommendation would be 100% sign up for it. So whenever I was learning a new skill or entering a new field, I wanted to learn from the people who have been there, done that, and succeeded at it. I love talking to the people that are the same level as me because then I can talk through some struggles and stuff, but I learn more from the people who have done it.
And I would say that you sign up for it because not only are we going to deliver the content, but there's going to be in-depth chats and conversations where you can get questions answered that you would have to spend way more thousands of dollars to get that expert to answer that question for you. I mean, the amount of expertise that's going to be coming, and not just one of the things about the live event on site is that you go to the breakout and then you rush to the next one and you rush to the next one and you don't really have time to fully absorb everything. And that's the brilliance of the experience is you'll have an entire week, and after the presentation, the chat, and then sometimes a Facebook Live, so that you really can go deep with it. And our presenters aren't going to stop talking until the questions are answered. So I would say there's never been a better time as an emerging speaker, an aspiring speaker, to get access to the people you've always wanted to meet.
So Anna, we've gotten several questions about the what type of content and how we're pivoting the content for Influence 2020. Do we maybe want to talk about the first 4 that are locked in and then talk overall? Do you want to take that one?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we know that each one of us is looking at how do we shift to take the crisis and make it an opportunity. And so the very first one will be Chris West. Chris West will be helping us look at how do we make the representation of our work in a sizzle reel that's virtual? How do we look at the hybrid model? How do we look at the virtual model? How do we demonstrate that we can do those things? And so he's going to bring his expertise and help us with that very critical thing we all need right now, which is how do I demonstrate to the customer I can help them in whatever model of delivery that they're ready for. That's the first one out. Then Brian Fonzo is going to jump in on number 2, and he's going to help us with taking it to the next level of live streaming and using different modalities and different platforms that we can be engaging our audiences on. And so he's going to show some of the things that he's been doing with his digital futurist work that's really exciting and cutting edge. I've been following both of their work right now really avidly. And in fact, today's environment that I'm in is out of some of the things I learned from them about how to get that blue screen up and get the lighting going so that I could actually be ready to do virtual live.
Whoopsie.
Yep, think on it. You just froze on. I'm sorry.
Now you're back.
Okay. Sorry about that. This
right.
is one of the things that we will also see is sometimes Wi-Fi on Mercer Island when everyone comes home from work gets a little bit more depressed. Number 3, Mary Lou, I'm not calling it off the top of my head.
It is Michelle Villalobos and then Phil Jones.
All right, so Michelle is going to be helping us understand how to create a virtual community where you actually can build out a revenue stream that is bringing together folks for remote virtual gatherings. So Michelle's had a really great program where she brings people together for retreats, and she has taken the times and converted that to making those virtual community gatherings. So she's going to be sharing about. And then Phil Jones is going to be talking to us about how do you frame the language of sales to meet the opportunity of the moment. And so he's going to be working, and he's going to be one of the folks that's doing it all live interactions, working with you. If you've got your question about what should I say, how should I say this, he'll share exactly what to say in these times.
And that's a common question that we're hearing from people. And again, like anything, we've got the 2 extremes. Don't sell anything right now. Give everything away from free and build the relationship. And other people saying, sell, 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 sell. Now's the time to build, right? like anything, the answer is, more in the moderate. But Phil Jones, I mean, who better to learn from on like, how can I word it now? Because you still need to sell. You have bills to pay. You still want to live in your house. You still want to eat food. But how can you sell tastefully, right? So we're really excited about this lineup. And we have just an incredible lineup of speakers for the full influence. And like I said, we'll be releasing that schedule within the next couple of weeks.
And Mary Lou, I just want to acknowledge all of our presenters for the experience portion were so generous when we said, we know you offered one thing when you put your proposal in. We're going to ask you to do something different. And every single person said, I'm in. I will find a way. I will make it appropriate to the time. And that's so much the spirit of NSA. I mean, every single person said, I will figure out a way to make it work.
Absolutely. Another question is, somebody's curious about the CSP designation. How will the current situation affect attaining the CSP? We're looking into that. We're looking at all areas of our business and the effect that this could have, especially like on our members. For CSP, there's a 5-year recertification. So you have 5 years to get, I think, 30 credits. So more to come on that, but rest assured that we're not going to allow people to lose their CSP for a situation that's 100% out of their control. And then also how it affects the 12 months requirements for achieving NSA professional membership. Again, we're looking at that as well too. Like, some answers obviously are, of course, we would accept more virtual presentations than we currently do in our app. We were looking at changing that anyway to ensure that we are modern with the times. But we will take all of this into consideration. And as we get more clarity, we will be posting the answers publicly with everybody. For right now, we're working with people one-on-one. And that's because we just don't fully understand the extent of the effect, and nor can we until we're through this. So for right now, we're working with people one-on-one, and then we're going to add in disclaimers with some of that clarity. Is there anything you would add, Barry, on that?
Well, one of the things that we've been working on prior to the current coronavirus was how can we strengthen the CSP designation? And Mary Lou's had a team working on that. We want it to be the best in industry. When you think of a certification in any association, we would want our CSP certification to be the best. To do that, there's some substantive improvements we have to make to the process. This is not the time to roll those out, obviously, but I would say to every CSP, we are committed, this leadership team is committed to creating an environment where our CSP credential is more valuable than ever. To every aspiring CSP, it'll be achievable. It'll be perhaps a more difficult road than it's ever been. And you'll value that because we're trying to make it applicable to the environment we're in. So when we're saying to a meeting planner or to a corporation, this person is certified as a certified speaking professional, they really do understand all the nuances of our culture, of our business, of what it means to communicate through expertise. It's about a whole lot more than just a platform presentation. So we may not get to that in the next 6 months, but I know that's something that our CEO is working on.
And we're sensitive, excuse me, Mary, we're sensitive to the fact that at least a quarter of this year has evaporated off of calendars. And so as Mary Lou said, I think one of the things you can really count on from the board and from the staff is this overwhelming concern with fairness and flexibility and figuring out how we can make things work. You know, we're always talking about being the association of yes to the point of service, but also maintaining the integrity of the organization. And so we're going to do, and Mary Lou is doing a phenomenal job on our staff. You guys get a chance to thank all of them. I cannot tell you how great they are at what they do. But all these questions are great and I love them. And the overarching feeling and thing we want you to know is that we are profoundly committed to flexibility and building a world of yes so that we can help people thrive and succeed in spite of whatever was, because, you know, everything's kind of been thrown up in the air now.
I would just add a couple of notes on the CSP. First of all, huge shout out to Sharon Weinstein and the CSP committee,
yes,
who has been working, they have been working tirelessly to reimagine what the CSP could be and the qualifications for the CSP, qualification process for the CSP. For example, how do we get those 3 sessions that are mandatory to attend? How do we get those online? so that way you can attend them online? How do we line that up with our 8 competencies? We've also been working really closely with a subcommittee of the GSF on a harmonization project, so that our CSP and the CSP from PSA in Australia, and then the certification from PSA UKI. How do we harmonize those? How do we bring those together so that we set this quality level globally? And we continue to make really great progress. They're wonderful partners to work with, and we'll update everybody as changes are made. So final question, I'll ask each one of you. What are some of the opportunities that you see in the near future for speaking profession? So let's start with you, Anna.
So I think the opportunity is that from my area of expertise, we needed to adjust the way we delivered our thought leadership to attract and to engage younger and younger audiences. And these times demonstrate that we can actually find the tools that they've been exposed to in the way that they've learned and the way they've been engaging available to us, and quickly upgrading to match what we need to do anyway. So I think this is a really great time that each one of us gets to be more and more relevant in delivering our thought leadership on different platforms. And the pause that we're in to learn it is actually a benefit at that core level. So I think that all of us are going to be able to upgrade, up level, and really refresh a lot of our content of this time, and our clients will thank us for it.
Mike?
I think a big opportunity, absolutely, to what Anna said as well, and adding on to that, I think our big immediate opportunity is to step into leading the recovery. I think that there are I know from my own client base, there are a lot of clients and companies out there who are trying to figure it out. And there's never been a time more appropriate and more ready for you and what you offer than now. But what it's going to require is real substantive paths forward. And I think our opportunities are to say, how do we help our customers, our past customers, our future customers on a road through? And I think it's going to require 2 things. I think it's going to require certainty and flexibility. Certainty that we know of a path through, and the flexibility to deeply understand that each one of our audiences is going to be very different. And so taking whatever we have and building that in a way that says, I know the way through, is going to be a huge upside opportunity. I talked to one of our members today who's in the medical profession, and she's examining ways to help businesses figure out how to be safe. What a great opportunity. But it isn't going to happen with ideas. It's going to happen with plans and structure and assertive leadership. And I think we're prepared to step into that gap. But now's the time. I think the wave is coming. I was raised in Southern California, and I remember when I was attempting to learn to surf, I defaulted to boogie boarding. But I remember when I was learning to surf, my instructor used to say, you got to paddle like crazy to get ahead of that wave, because if you don't start paddling, it's going to run over you or break on top of you. Now's the time to paddle and to guide our clients forward.
Nice. Barry?
Well, I would certainly echo what our president has said and what Mike has said. When I was growing up there in the mountains of North Carolina and North Georgia, my dad said something, wasn't original with him, but he would put it in my head all the time. He said, Barry, you won't worry so much what people think about you if you realize how little they ever think about you.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about themselves. We are surrounded 10 miles from wherever you're sitting tonight looking at this screen, 10 miles from your home. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of people consumed with looking in that mirror. It's not the time for us to talk about ourselves. It's time for us to step up, as has been said so well by both Mike and Anna, and be able to serve those people. I think there's significant revenue to be made locally, either through being that trusted advisor to people that only think of you of being a speaker on a big stage, or even to those companies where you can gather 5 or 10 of their people instead of 150 of them in a personal or a Zoom event. So take a moment and look where you are, look right where you are, and draw that 10, 20, 30-mile circle that you can get in your car and drive to as soon as we're able to do that, and that people that normally you might drive past on your way to the airport. So think about serving the people who are immediately around you, because those people will keep leading to a bigger circle. We may not can get on a plane safely yet. We may not can travel a great distance yet, but there are people that need our message, and they're frozen thinking about themselves. And I would just encourage us to do that. And then the last thing I would say to all of us, and this is to those of us on the screen and those of you who are with us, this association doesn't exist in Tempe, Arizona. It doesn't exist in a boardroom. It doesn't exist for the four of us on this screen. It's all of us. And we'll only be as strong through this as we are working together. We're not all going to agree. We're not all going to have the same perspective, but I think we can all have the same purpose. We want whatever words we say or speak or write or coach with, we want those words to uplift the people around us. And if we can stay focused on that, stay together through this, we'll not only build a better association and build equally better businesses for ourselves, but we'll make that impact on the world. We'll make the world's pie a little bit bigger than it was coming into this. That's my hope, that we'll do that we'll stay. It's going to be hard work. We've got 2 years of working through this, but I'm confident we can do it.
Me too.
Excellent. So with that, I want to thank you guys for your time and for answering all these questions. And I want to thank everybody that has participated, has dialed in, watched, joined us on Facebook Live, sent in these excellent questions. Thank you so much. Next week, we have Jason Hewlett and Marquita Miller, Joshua, talking about how do you keep your promise when your life is falling apart. So what are some things you can do? The following week, May 6th, we have Lenora Billing-Harris, Thelma Wells, Mama T, and Bill Cates, who have all been through the ups and downs of the business, talking about how they've gotten through past downs and what we could be doing today to make sure that we are ready to capitalize when this turns around. And then on May 13th, we've got Dan Thurman and John DeJulius. So thank you again, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Mike, Barry, and Anna. Be safe, be well, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.